Welcome back. Let's keep going. All right. So that's a simple if-then statement. If something is true or false, if it's true, then do what comes after the word then. If not, go to the next line. Let's talk about what VBA typically calls the block if statement. I call it the compound if-then statement, but it's also block if is correct. That's where you have something that goes on for multiple lines. Now, when would we do that? Well, all the time, honestly. You saw how many lines of code it took to paint a cell black. It was like 5 lines of code, and it really doesn't need probably all 5 of those, but that's what it recorded. We'll keep it. So what do you do if something, if what you want it to do, if it's true, takes up multiple lines of code? You can't just put it right here after the then. What do we do then? Well, just don't put anything after then. So if I don't put anything after then, it'll start doing everything that comes after the word then, if it's true, until it finds the end if. Now this end if is critical, and it will not run a block if statement. You'll get an error when you try to run this macro if you don't manually type the end if in there. It'll tell you, hey, I've got a block if without an end if, something like that. It's saying it doesn't know where to go if this is false. So when it goes through, it says if comparison, if this is false, it's going to skip to the end if. It's going to skip everything from here to here, and then it's going to start the next line of code after that. It's going to go down below. And that's the way VBA is going to work. It's going to go from top to bottom, line by line, unless you put something in here like an if statement that says, if this is false, skip everything here until you find end if. But if it's true, do everything that comes next. All right, so and that's a very common thing that we'll encounter. And here's this is a very old, this won't run anymore. This is a very old version of Excel and VBA, but we can write this type of a macro. Let's write this type of a macro, shall we? So this is a smile macro. So let's just blow this up full screen here. All right, so I'm going to zoom back. Let's get rid of our stuff we had earlier. Let's write a slightly different smile macro. All right, I'm going to view macros. I'm going to record macro. We'll call this one the smile macro. I'm going to set this one to Control K. I like using J, K, and L because those aren't commonly used. Control X, Control C, Control V. This is cut, copy, paste. Those are common shortcut keys in most Windows programs. Control S normally saves. Control P normally prints. Control J, K, or L are very rarely used. Control K, I think, will do hyperlinks if you do hyperlinks in Excel, but I rarely do that in Excel. So I like Control K, but it's a simple thing you can do. Okay, I'm going to hit OK. All right. And so what's going to happen is every time I hit Control K, this macro is going to run. Now I need to record the macro first, though, and say, what does this macro do? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click on C3, and then on my keyboard, I'm going to hold down the Control key. And holding down the Control key allows you to select multiple entities. So I've got C3 selected. Hold down Control, click on E3, click on D5, and you see what it's doing, right? And click on B6, C7, D8, E7, F6, and that's still all holding down the Control key. Got everything selected. I'm going to release the Control key. I'm going to go home, grab the paint can, paint all those black. Boom. One step. And that's all I want to do here. I'm going to go View, Macros, Stop Recording. And now I've got code. So I'm going to go edit the smile macro. Let's make this full screen. You see, this is the smile macro. And by the way, I haven't mentioned this earlier. See these apostrophes, right? Everything after an apostrophe is ignored by the computer and highlighted. For those of us that can see green, it's highlighted in green. Notice when I go to the next line, this text is now in green. So if I want to hide something, like let's say I don't want the computer to worry about this command, I can put an apostrophe in front of it. And now that is ignored. The computer will skip that. That's a nice way to turn. If I think I've got a line of code that's not working, just put apostrophe in front of it, and it creates what's called a comment, right? This is called a comment. If you had programming before, comment is a way you can hide notes from the computer. You can leave yourself notes and yet hides them from the computer. And so Excel's put some in here for us. It says, hey, this is a Control K shortcut key. You don't have to put that in there. Notice I didn't put any comments on this one up here. So you don't have to have comments, but they're helpful sometimes if you want. All right, look at the code. Range C3, E3, D5, D6, C7, blah, blah, blah. Select all those cells at one time and then do the command to paint them black. Now here's the thing. I only want this to happen in under one condition. I'm going to say if selection equals quote the word smile, close quote. Then, so I only want this code to execute, to occur, if it finds the word smile. Now I'm going to go to the next line, see what it does. It says, hey, that's an if-then statement. Awesome. Again, I've got to tell it, where does this stop? I'm going to come down here and say end if. If I don't do that and I try to run it, it's going to give me an error. It's not going to blow anything up, but you're going to have to go back later and figure out where does that end if go. Because again, what's that end if do? Well, it says if it doesn't say smile, it's going to go here and then go to the next line. And the next line just says stop. So it's going to skip everything if this is false. But it needs to know how far does it need to skip. Now, you could run this. This is just fine. You don't have to do what I'm about to do, but I am going to align this. So I'm going to highlight all this group of text and I'm going to hit the tab key on my keyboard. Most programs, that's just going to delete everything and insert a tab. VBA actually it does this. It rechanges the alignment. You don't have to do that. The computer doesn't care. You can tab and line everything up all the way over to the right. But see what it's done here. It says, all right, well, everything in the macro is everything that's tabbed over. And then saying, all right, everything that's tabbed over here is inside the if function. All right. That's helpful for us. And you see everything inside the with function is tabbed over inside the with function. It's nice visual help for us, but the computer doesn't care. So do it if you like it. All right, let's go look at Excel. If I go highlight, no fill, so I can see what it's doing. Control K, nothing. Okay, so I'm gonna put the word smile in here and Control K and, ooh, wait. Control K, what's going on? Where's the selection? All right, look at your lines of code. First thing, if selection equals smile, where is selection right now? What's in select? What does selection equal right now? Nothing. Where do you want to put the command, right? Where do you want to put the command? What is selection? If you want selection to be something specific, you've got to program selection to be something specific. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to highlight this command right here. I'm going to copy it, Control C. I'm going to go up here and blank line. I'm going to paste it. And I don't want to select all these. I'm just going to select cell A1. So A1 select. Go to cell A1. Does cell A1 say smile? If cell A1 says smile, then go do these things. Make sense? I have to tell it, if you're going to use the word selection, you have to know what is selection. And it's a real simple thing to do. I love doing it, but it's important you know what is selection right now. Let's add another command, shall we? I've got smile programmed in here. Let's add another command. So let's go no fill this and let's program in the frown. To program frown, I need the code for frown. So let's record. I'm just going to record another dummy. And we recorded a dummy earlier and it says, hey, you dummy, you've already got a dummy. Well, yeah, dummy, I know. Replace the dummy. That's the reason I call it dummy. It's temporary. I know I can replace it, delete it, get rid of it. So I'm going to select cell C3. I'm going to hold down Control. I'm going to click on E3, D5, and I'm going to draw a frown. I'm going to go D7, C8, B9. And I'll go E8, F9. And I'm going to home, paint can, fill those. Okay, so I got a frown. I got the code now to draw a frown. I'm going to stop recording. Now I'm going to go back to View Macros. I'm going to edit that dummy. Okay, now see, I've got smile here. I've got dummy here. Now I could do what I did earlier. I could just copy all this and paste it up here after this end if. I can paste it right there. And let's do that. Copy, paste. That works. There's actually a cool thing I can do in VBA though. It's a little easier than that. I'm going to undo. It's Control Z undoes. Here's something really neat I can do. I can't do this in all programming languages, but see if I delete the end of the smile macro in the beginning of the dummy and highlight it and hit the delete. Now it's all one big macro. This is where the smile starts, and now here's where it ends. It's pretty neat. You don't have to do it that way, but that's the way I chose to do it today. All right, I'm going to tab over here. Let's say if selection equals the word frown, close quotation, then go to the next line. It capitalizes everything, recognize the if-then statement. Again, I've got to put an end if in there. I've got to tell it where does this go if that's false. Well, I just wanted to skip over all this stuff. And again, just for alignment's sake, tab everything over. Not required, but looks nice. Okay, let's go back to Excel. Let's run this thing. Okay, so let's highlight, no fill, Control K. It goes to A1. A1 says smile. It draws a smile. Let's go back to A1. Let's put the word frown in there. Now, if it finds the word smile, it's going to draw a smile. If it doesn't, it's still in cell A1. Oh, what did we do? Better yet, what did we not do? I've said it more than once. I'll say it again. Computers are dumb. They're going to do only what you tell them to do and not a lot more. I never told it to clear. If you want it to clear, you're going to have to program that. So, all right, let's do another dummy. Record macro. Let's record another dummy. Recording dummy. I'm going to select the group of cells here where everything is, and I'm going to no fill it and stop recording. And that would be the commands I need to get rid of the smiley face. Now, if I go edit the dummy, all right, so this is all I would need to get rid of whatever's there. Control C, go up to the top of the macro. I like to put it at the beginning. There's a variety of ways you could do that. If I'm in class, we're going to talk about program flow, maybe writing pseudocode, maybe writing a flow chart. I'm just going to put it at the beginning here. That's you know, maybe you want it to clear everything out, right? So if I put a correct command in there, it's going to give me a correct output. Now the problem is I did write it to where if I put an invalid command, the first thing it does is clear. So if you don't want it to clear, you're going to have to probably put that clear statement inside one of these ifs, right? So instead of putting it up here where it just clears whatever's there, probably put it inside one of these if statements. So it's only going to clear if you give it a valid command. There's a variety of ways you could do that. It's beyond what I want to talk about here. Hopefully that's helped. Hopefully that helps you. Hopefully that gets you started. That's a simple application of a compound block if statement. All right, what else? This is the last thing to talk about. You want to save your work as a macro enabled file. Right? Macro enabled file. If you just go to save it right now, so if I go file, save, and I just save it in my documents, I just save it. It's, oh, no. Let's say macro example, save. And it says, hey, you've got macros in here and you're about to delete the macros. If you hit yes, all those macros you just wrote are gone. I'm going to hit no. And where it says save as, I'm going to drop this down. I'm going to do a macro enabled. And now I can save it. Now I can save it and it will keep my code there. Okay, so always save if you've got macros in there as a macro enabled file. Some systems like email systems and stuff like that will not allow you to send macro enabled files. So just be aware of that. There are some security risks with, and if you open somebody else's macro enabled file, just be aware if they've hidden viruses in those macros, you're subject to them now. All right, I'm going to stop share there. I'm going to stop recording. Good luck, guys. Let me know if you have questions.